When you think of classic Halo 5 ovals, HRL Superspeedway is bound to be brought up at some point. HRL Superspeedway is one of our most raced ovals for many reasons. One, this track has only had a few changes throughout its lifespan. Unlike other tracks that get major updates every time they're brought back, HRL Superspeedway has remained relatively the same. Two, the competition on this track is very close. While we've had some drivers have motos where they set a blisteringly fast pace, we haven't really had anyone consistently do this across all its races. In some cases, we've even had drivers look unbeatable in a first moto to have an average race in the second. Even though we know this doesn't happen, the track feels like it changes throughout the night, keeping everyone on their toes and the results unpredictable. Third and final, it has a fairly unique layout as far as ovals go. It's like if you took Indianapolis Motor Speedway, made the straightaways more of a tri-oval, and squished together the turns. This creates the effect of grooves on the track, and you'll see many drivers in these past races take advantage of that, looking to the high side on the track to gain momentum, then sending it down to the inside to go for huge crossovers. In summary, HRL Superspeedway has been a staple for Halo 5 because the track's been relatively consistent since its inception, it always brings close competition, and the layout is like no other. A definite classic that deserves to be in the list. And now on to the track judge comments for HRL Superspeedway. Classic track, love the flow on this one, love the crossovers. High praise from me on this one. This is a wide track that gives you many lines available, crossover city. Iconic and unique. I would say of the big ovals, the Superspeedways, this one is the most notable and best. Racing this in Season 3 with a near full lobby and watching the inside 3 and 4 wide action that would take place in theater is again one of those lasting images for me. Another track that feels much larger than it is. Also, finding a good spot for the podium on this track was fun, LOL. And now we're transitioning into the race history portion of the video. We're watching the first moto of the Season 3 race. This was round 11 for Season 3, HRL Superspeedway. Slaunch taking the moto win in that one. Now we're moving on to Moto 2, and this race came pretty late in the season, so for some context for this particular race, Mirabilis was the only regular season race remaining after this one. This was the penultimate race. If you don't want to count the wildcard races, the wildcard races make things kind of weird. But if you're just talking about the regular season on its own, no wildcards, this was the penultimate race. So that's why we have so many people here and a lot of rough racing. A lot of those moments where you have people battling as hard as they possibly can for whatever position they can pick up because there's not a whole lot of races remaining in the season. They're trying to get as many points as possible, try to get that best position going into the grand final, trying to get to the grand final. There are some drivers, I'm sure, at this point that are still looking for that ticket to get into the grand final. I believe that there was a few spots at the bottom of the list that were actually pretty close for Season 3. This wasn't always the case, especially in later seasons. It was generally like a group that you'd expect that would make the grand final. You know, there'd be close points battles between them, but the drivers that made the grand finals you'd kind of expect. From what I can recall, this was not the case in Season 3. In Season 3, the bottom few spots were actually pretty close, and that's why you had so many drivers duking it out on this track, duking it out on Mirabilis, trying to make it to the grand finals. But yeah, so we're going to the end of this Moto 2 here. I end up taking the win in this one as the drivers come around. Cat actually gets second in this one, so this is one of his best finishes in HRL ever. And Slaunch running out the podium, Fireball and Vulcan taking 4th and 5th. We'll get a look at the overall results here in a second. Really close photo finish right there. Wow. Really close photo finish. And you'll see a lot of those throughout the video. I think that's Fireball losing out in that one. And as we take a look at the overall results as well, I ended up taking the overall in this one. Slaunch, really close second place. Remember, he got 1st and 3rd. I got 2nd and 1st. But now we're moving on to the Season 4 race for HRL Superspeedway, and this is actually the grand final. So HRL Superspeedway made it to the grand final, and it's the grand final kickoff, the first race. Everybody knows when you make it to a grand final, you want to start off hot, you want to have a strong start, you want to be in the points lead going to the next 2 races, and that's what all these drivers are looking to do here in this race for HRL Superspeedway. And you're going to see moves like this huge crossover that we just saw at a Hunter right there. You're going to see a lot of moves like that in these first 2 motos for HRL Superspeedway because it's the start of the grand final. Why not? If there's a time to take risks, it's now, right? At this current moment, everybody's starting at the bottom. If you're going to go for something, might as well go for it now. This is a battle between Roman and Slaunch that we're watching. Slaunch actually running the green. Roman with that same green and yellow that he always has. but Slaunch sometimes switching up his colors, and in this one he's running the green, so that's how you tell the difference between them. Their armor, if you look at Roman's armor, it kind of looks like it has a backpack, and also Slaunch is just the green, Roman's the green and yellow, so that's how you can tell the difference between them. And Roman actually ends up winning that battle, and Fireball actually ends up winning the race. I didn't even get a shot in the original video of Fireball winning the race because he was so far ahead. Fireball won his heat, won his semi, started first in the first moto, and just absolutely dominated. It was a really good race out of him. Takes the win. Roman ended up holding on to that second place. Slaunch ended up finishing third. So now we go into the second moto, though, and as always with the second moto, script is flipped, right? Anything could happen here, and let's see how it plays out. So a pretty competitive start. Here potentially, looked like Camby was maybe going to go for a 3 wide right there. And now we see Roman, Hunter, and Camby, all of those drivers running their same colors that they always stick with. So very easy to tell where they are in the pack, but hitting that 3 wide. And Detail actually had a really strong race for most of this race. We're getting a look at the gap here, but towards the end, Slaunch caught him, and look at this, slips by on the inside. Slaunch with a late race move on Detail, who I believe led the entire race, and that was literally the last lap right there. So Slaunch, on the very last lap, clutches up and takes the win right there. Detail ends up coming in second, Fireball third. Fireball, I believe, holding on to the overall with bonus points for that one, but they essentially tied. And they were going to be basically tied going into the second race of the grand final. But now we're moving on to the Season 5 race for HRL Superspeedway. This time it's back in the regular season at round 5. This is Moto 1. And as far as the heats went, Roman and Fireball took the heats here. But Slaunch actually finishing first in the semi. So Slaunch having a really strong run in the semi and starting off this Moto 1 on the pole. And of course, Fireball and Slaunch were the two drivers that had really good races in that Season 4 Grand Final here at HRL Superspeedway. They both dominated, finishing very close for that overall. Like I said before, basically tied with each other. And Fireball actually fell off the pace early here in this moto, and it actually ends up being me in the lead and Slaunch in second. And that's the case for a long time. That's the case for a long time in this moto. And if you watch, like, you can see us up front right there. That exact gap, literally like 8 to 9 minutes of this race is like that exact same gap of us pretty much maintaining like damn near the same lap times. Very close, very competitive at 1-2 for the majority of this race. And it'll heat up towards the end. As you can tell by when I said like 8 to 9 minutes, it'll heat up towards the end. We'll get there in a bit. But a lot of mid-race, or a lot of mid-pack battles, sorry, while this lead battle brewed for pretty much the entire race. And then right here towards the end with, I believe, like 4 laps to go, Slaunch finally gets it. He finally gets that run he's been looking for and peeks to my inside. And now it's going to be a side-by-side battle with only a few laps remaining. And C starts to inch closer here, going to potentially try to take the lead in this corner. Turn 4. Very close, not quite able to complete the pass, and here we look at it, 3 laps to go. And we're seeing one of the closest lead battles to a finish that we've seen in any HRL race. This one is pretty spectacular. And Slaunch pretty much completes the pass there, 2 laps to go. I end up going for a crossover move, gonna try to get back to the inside, thinking that's the only chance I still have of holding on to this win. And I do end up getting there just by an inch. White flag. Slaunch with the edge, but I've got the inside now. Who's going to end up taking it? And that third place driver as well, potentially creeping in. That's Roman. And here we go to the line. Super close. Going to need a side view to call that one because it was really close. Especially from this perspective, it's really hard to tell. I ended up taking the win on that one. We'll take another look at the photo finish here in a second, but Slaunch coming in second and Roman third. Detail 4th and Fireball 5th, rounding out the top 5. Look at that for the win. And those last few laps too. That was awesome. That looked like a local short track race that you'd go to and see a crazy battle like that for the win. That was pretty sweet. So really cool race, really competitive race to start off the night. Let's see how Moto 2 goes and see who's going to fight for that overall. Obviously I've got the advantage with the win in Moto 1, but Slaunch and Roman with second and third still in really good position to battle for that overall if they can bring it together for this Moto 2. And if you couldn't see it in the back there, I got off to a really bad start in this one, way towards the back. And this is exactly what Slaunch and Roman, looking for that overall, this is exactly what they want to see. And look at this, Slaunch is already fighting for the lead, I believe, here, or at least like close to the lead. He's already battling for that lead, and Roman already towards the top 5 as well. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to get into like the top 8. So it's a really strong start for them, and there you can see Slaunch at the start. He was at the lead already, so he got to the lead really quickly. Like, he sliced and diced his way through the pack, already in the lead here, looking strong for this Moto 2. Roman had a strong start as well, but started to see some lag issues, which we kind of saw for a little bit there. And as you can see here, that's Roman on the inside, I believe, in this 4 wide in the back of the pack. So yeah, Roman was also off to a strong start, but just the lag issues a little too much. And he would spend the rest of this Moto 2 trying to recover from that lag cheese. It was really, really hurtful for his race. Not what he wanted, of course. And here I'm working my way through the pack, and I believe one of these drivers, I want to say it's got to be like this orange driver, right? Is actually Sector, having a really good run here at HRL Superspeedway, looking for a podium finish. Now, I'm trying to go for this overall, so I'm getting to this top 3, and it's me versus Sector with 2 laps to go, and I'm going for it. Sector trying to hold on to that podium, which at this point, I don't even know if he's had a podium yet. Honestly, maybe not in Halo 5. Maybe not. It might even be the case that he hadn't had a podium yet. Meanwhile, Slaunch, a really dominant Moto 2 after taking that lead. He's had pretty good races at HRL Superspeedway. He closes it out. That's going to give him the Moto win and the overall. But I end up taking that 3rd over Sector. Sector ends up finishing 4th, so still a strong top 5 finish for him, but it definitely would have been crazy if he held on to the podium. So Slaunch, Detail in 2nd, me in 3rd, Sector with that 4th place spot, Real Deal in 5th. But yeah, Slaunch with a really strong Moto 2, giving him that Moto win. And he's going to get that overall that he just barely missed out on against Fireball in that Season 4 Grand Finals. He turns it around here, takes the whole thing. Almost swept. Again, he almost had a crazy move in that first Moto. Now we go on to Season 7. So for this Season 7 race, it needs some context. For Season 7, we changed the format. We introduced Rallycross in Season 6, and we wanted to expand with Rallycross in Season 7. So the ovals became more of a special event type race in Season 7. No oval in the Grand Finals, only 2 ovals throughout the season. One of them was Barvo, the second one, HRL Superspeedway here, round 11. So that changed things up a lot, and I think you're going to be able to tell, even with some of the footage here, that these drivers were not racing ovals as consistently, because the driving doesn't seem as clean as it usually is in these oval races. At least to me it doesn't. But yeah, this first Moto, Detail ends up having a really strong one, takes a clean victory. Roman 2nd, I end up finishing 3rd, Vulcan 4th, Blake 5th, and these celebratory fireworks right there. whoever that driver was, not only was racing, but also on the firework duty. Again, with the local tracks. It's not exactly what we did here, but if you've ever been to a local track before, sometimes with the fireworks at the end of the race. I mean, sometimes they do it like NASCAR and stuff too. Definitely some cool effects that we could have with that in Infinite for sure. Then we go on to Moto 2. As you can see, pretty intense start, 4 wide, and also some lag for the leader as well. It kind of looked like, I don't know if that was theater, but kind of looked like some lag issues there as well. Pretty odd. Not really sure what was going on with that. We had the lag with Roman earlier as well in the Season 5 race. Just lag cheese in these Halo races, huh? Because it's just always a thing in Halo games. But yeah, I believe Slaunch having a strong run in this Moto 2, moving his way up to 2nd. Didn't have the strongest Moto 1, but historically pretty good at HRL Superspeedway. And of course, he's going to have a strong Moto at some point. And it looks like this Moto 2 is going to be that one for him. But I'm having a strong run in the lead. Roman, I believe, in the podium spot as well. And with some late race cautions here. So we have a restart. And this opens up the door for Roman and Slaunch in those other podium positions to potentially take this win. And for the drivers in the... Look at the drivers in the back, though. The podium runs away with it pretty quickly. But we end up having another caution somewhere on the track. Potentially a cheese caution from what I'm looking at in the results. I'm not too sure. Maybe that's why I didn't show it. I don't know. Maybe it was a little cheesy. But either way, We end up having another restart, and again, giving Slaunch and Roman another chance to fight for this win. But the restart not looking good enough. I think Slaunch experimenting with the outside, just trying something at the end of this race, seeing if it would work, and it not quite working out. As you can see, he fell off from the lead pretty quickly, and I think once he sees Roman behind him, he's like, alright, maybe I gotta be a little careful here with this experimentation, because I still want to hold on a second. Potentially, I believe this is the white flag here, actually. And yeah, the gap's getting really separated. More so than what we're used to at this track, actually. Potentially just because we've raced it so many times, and I end up taking the win for this one. Slaunch, that's second place. Roman in third. And Detail taking the win from the first one, ended up finishing 7th in this one. Still good enough for 3rd overall, but Roman ends up taking 2nd overall, and I ended up taking the 1st overall for this one. Thanks to everyone for watching. HRL Superspeedway, classic track. Hope everybody's looking forward to number 11. We're almost to the top 10. Almost there. See you in the next video.